you know, when you do artwork, you get a feeling about, wow, I did it, you know? And I felt that way with that piece, but others went further.
Yeah.
And, you know, I keep on creating new things that makes all the old stuff not important to me anymore.
You know, Al, one of the things we were talking about, too, was this idea of otherness. And how that's come up so strongly for you, for Tim, and for Katie. Tim, can you tell us about your own collection? You obviously are so committed to collecting artists who have a very strong point of view, and you built your home around that collection. Right. So can you tell us a little bit about how that evolved?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a disconnect between my fight against beauty and the work that I collect. And every piece of work that I have, every painting or sculpture or photograph has a message, and it's strong. And it's not for everybody, but then I'm not for everybody, and I don't like people who are for everybody. But the message in the work is very, very important to me. And I'm collecting a body of work that talks about a particular moment in time, and I never thought it would be as important to record history in this way as I do today. When I started collecting 20 years ago, I never thought it would be so necessary to record history in a way that could not be denied, as it is today. But I think collections and artists, but more importantly, as importantly, the collectors who collect that work are compiling a body of work that gives a narrative. And it's a narrative that in the future, yes, somewhat subjective, but it tells truth in ways that are important to hold truth dear, more so today than ever before. And so I'm really drawn to work that is powerful, and the ability of that work to impact people today, but also people in the future, and to record a message. It's almost like putting a message in a bottle and burying it, you know, which we may need to do to preserve truth today, for the future. Because at some point in the future, people are going to look back at this time and say, well, what was really true? Like, what was really happening? And I think art is the thing that tells the truth without any sort of concern for the readership, right? The piece just speaks the truth.
I think that's a common ground for the three of us.
Right. Yes.
That art with content is a place that we all share. I collect art with content. I create art with content. And for art history, I'm only attracted to the most strong people like Goya and Daumier and other people who involve themselves in risky stuff. I mean, people like Daumier actually went to jail for his points of view in his art. We don't get put in jail yet.
Not yet.
Yet. But actually, there are people who would probably want to.
Yeah.
But just the same, I do think that that's a really common ground for all of us. I feel really fortunate that Katie, I think she's a really rare art dealer.
Absolutely.
Because she really is involved in content more than any other art dealer I've ever seen. And I feel real lucky.
I feel lucky too, because there's so many wonderful artists working that way. It's great to be able to have a platform to show the work.
And Tim, you said you walked into Katie's gallery, was it 18 years ago?
It was about
a
that,
Travis
yeah.
Somerville.
I think it might be 20
piece?
now, because
Yeah.
I think it was 97.
Okay. I don't remember dates. After a certain
I don't
age, you
remember.
don't. But I did. I walked in, and there was a painting by Travis. I didn't know how much it was. I had no idea how much the work was, and I said, I have to have it. And that was the start of our friendship.
It was.
I think that for me, that concept of intentional beauty really comes to the art too, right? Because I'm not interested in a pretty painting that has no point of view. I'm just not. And there are artists that are very popular that make work that becomes very hot and everybody wants it, and that's exactly what I don't want, right? I want things that draw you in and upset people and cause you to take a different point of view. And I've collected for so long, and you start to forget what you have, right? And you don't see things in your house after you collect for a long time. I was doing a tour of our house a few years ago for a museum group from the Midwest somewhere, probably something that you set up, but I have no memory.
I think it was a Speed Museum.
Speed Museum, yeah. And I was walking this group of collectors through, and there was a photograph on the floor in our bedroom that I bought, I think Julie Polyowski is a photographer. I think she's a photojournalist. And I bought the photograph in Paris at an art fair in Paris. I'd totally forgotten about owning it. And I was walking this group of collectors through the house, and one of them pointed to the photograph and said, who is that? And I said, it's a photograph by this artist from, who's a reportage photographer. And she said, what's the subject matter? And I still get choked up when I talk about it because I'd completely forgotten about this work, right? And Africa is so important to us. And it was a photograph of a mother with a child who was dying of AIDS, and this is like 10 years ago. But nobody should be dying of AIDS now. And it struck me in that moment of like, oh, you've got to do something. Like, you've forgotten now how privileged you are, and you've got to do something. So this moment of realizing in my own home with work that was impacting me after I'd forgotten that I had it. So it's the power for me of work like that that has this ability to stop all of us in our tracks and go, look around you. It's a weird time. It's a terrible time in a lot of ways, but it's a really powerful time too. And so it's that call to action that art can create for all of us.
And I know, we have such